In this video, we're going to talk about the GoPro MAX, GoPro's new 360 camera that's going to replace the GoPro Fusion, also known as the GoPro Fusion 2. We're going to talk about its specifications, its 16 features, and its disadvantages. We're also going to talk about its price and its release date. The GoPro MAX is now available for pre-order, but you're probably wondering, should you pre-order it? Is it worth waiting for it, or should you just get another 360 camera like the popular Insta360 One X? So I'm going to help you figure that out. My name is Mick, and I run a website called 360 Rumors. I've written over 2,500 articles on 360 cameras and VR. But more importantly, I've also predicted 7 features of the GoPro Fusion 2, or now known as the GoPro MAX. And you know how many of those predictions came true? All of them. Now, before we talk about the GoPro MAX's specifications and features, let's talk about why you should care about the GoPro MAX. So in 2017, when GoPro released the GoPro Fusion, it ended up becoming the best 360 camera at that time. It had amazing video quality, excellent stabilization, and even excellent photo quality. Now, the problem with the Fusion is that it had kind of steep requirements if you wanted to stitch it on your desktop. You had to have a graphics card, and if you didn't have one, it would take a really long time to stitch. A lot of people didn't have a graphics card, and there were some reviewers who didn't know that you had to have one, and they thought it was really slow, and it got a lot of criticism for that. But the truth is that even in 2019, the Fusion remains one of the best 360 cameras today. Now, since then, it's been overtaken to a large extent by the Insta360 One X. Is the GoPro MAX any good? Is it going to take the crown from the Insta360 One X? Should you wait for it? We're going to talk about that in this video. So first, let's talk about the specifications of the GoPro MAX. The video resolution is 5.6K 30 FPS. The photo resolution is 16.6 megapixels. In case you're wondering, those are pretty much the same specs as the GoPro Fusion, except that the Fusion was limited to 24 FPS at its maximum resolution. GoPro MAX is going to be $499, and it's going to be released on October 24. So in terms of specifications, there's nothing special about the GoPro MAX. But the GoPro MAX has a ton of special features. Let's talk about those. So here are the 16 features of the GoPro MAX. First is the huge touchscreen. This makes it a lot easier to control the GoPro MAX, and you'll be able to change the settings right on the camera without having to use your phone. The other thing is that the GoPro MAX has a couple of quick settings, so that if you have settings that you use a lot, then you'll be able to assign them to the upper left corner or the upper right corner for quick access. Feature number 2, you'll be able to review your photos and videos right on the Max's screen. With most other 360 cams, you have a tiny screen that's only for changing your settings. And in some cases, you don't even have a screen at all, like the Ricoh Theta, for example. With the GoPro MAX, not only do you have a screen for controlling your settings, but you can also use it to review your photos and videos. If you're an experienced 360 camera user, you might wonder what's the big deal, because all this time you've not needed one. But I have another camera called the Pilot Era, which does have a built-in touchscreen that you can use for previewing and reviewing your photos and videos. And let me tell you, it's a lot more convenient. Or once you've tried it, you'll see immediately how useful it is. Next is what I would consider the GoPro MAX's killer feature, and that is real-time stitching with stabilization. Now, there are a few 360 cameras real-time stitching. Now, the catch is that they're not stabilized. To add stabilization, you have to process them on your phone or desktop. The GoPro MAX, on the other hand, has real-time stitching with stabilization. So that means that number 1, the video is already stitched for you. You don't have to process them. And 2, the video will already be stabilized. There's a limit with the Max. This real-time stitching with stabilization only works in non-360 mode. Now, why is that important? We're going to talk about that in the disadvantages later on. Number 4, it has automatic overcapture. 360 cameras, there are two ways to use the video. You can either use a video as a 360 video or convert the 360 video into a non-360 video. And why would you want to do that? Because you want to control what the viewer sees. Using 360 cameras for overcapture has actually become more popular than using them for 360 videos. Now the problem is that when you're converting a 360 video into an overcapture video, you usually have to spend time editing the video. Now the GoPro MAX, on the other hand, has automatic overcapture. That means you'll be able to create an overcapture video without having to edit it. With the Max, you can switch between 360 video or overcapture non-360 so-called hero mode or the so-called vlogging mode. In other words, you'll be able to control the direction of the video simply by pointing the front of the camera. 5. It has the so-called 4-in-1 lens. That means that you can switch between the so-called Max SuperView, a super wide, kind of like an ultra-wide fisheye view, or wide angle, or linear mode, or narrow mode. So in other words, you can change the field of view anywhere from fisheye all the way to the field of view that you get on your smartphone. And number 6 is a replaceable lens cover. So 360 cameras, especially those with two lenses, are usually very fragile because they have fisheye lenses, and you can't put like a lens hood or other protective barrier because that would show up in the 360 photo or video. What's worse, when you damage a 360 camera lens, usually it's too expensive to fix it and you end up having to replace it. Now with the GoPro MAX, it has a replaceable lens cover. So that means that if you damage it, then you just have to change the cover, and the cover is not that expensive. It's like 20 bucks. In addition, these lens covers are spherical. And that's important because when you're shooting underwater, a spherical lens will negate refraction, which is something that the Fusion can't do, even though both the Fusion and the Max are waterproof. Number 7 is spatial audio. The Max has 6 microphones to provide spatial audio. So what spatial audio means is that you not only is the sound 360, but the sound will change depending on which direction you're facing in the 360 video. So this makes it incredibly realistic. Another cool thing with the Max is that one of its microphones is a directional microphone, kind of like a shotgun microphone. So this makes it perfect for vlogging. 8 is keyframing. The GoPro MAX app can keyframe camera movements in your 360 photo or video. 9 is max time warp, which is basically a hyperlapse. You'll be able to switch between hyperlapse and regular video, which the Fusion could not do. 10 is power panel, which is basically a 270-degree wide panorama that you can shoot in just one click. 11, live streaming with stabilization. So the Max can live stream to YouTube, Facebook, or other social media with RTMP support, and you'll have stabilization as well. 12 is slow motion. The GoPro MAX can shoot at 60 FPS. 13, self-timer. The GoPro MAX finally adds a self-timer to its photos, something that the Fusion didn't have. 14, folding GoPro mount. 15, short clips. The GoPro MAX can record short clips just like Snap Spectacles or Insta360 Go. Be able to record 15 or 30-second video clips that you can share instantly to Snapchat or Instagram stories or other social media. And 16, voice commands. These features sound really cool, but the GoPro MAX has some unanswered questions and some disadvantages. Let's talk about them. So the killer feature of the GoPro MAX is its real-time stitching with stabilization, but it only works in hero mode, in other words, the non-360 mode. Now why is that? That's because it's actually only using one of its lenses in this mode. So in this press release, you can check out, it says it's a single lens mode. So because the GoPro MAX is using only one of its lenses in this mode, this stabilization is not going to be as good as when it's using both lenses. So what kind of performance can we expect from the GoPro MAX when it's using this single lens mode? Well, we can actually compare the GoPro MAX to a couple of other cameras that have a stabilized 180 mode, such as the Rilo or more recently the Insta360 Go. So let's check it out. So I've attached it to a selfie stick. I'm gonna start recording. So you can see that it's really stable. You can even put it upside down. It will remain level. On the other hand, with just one lens, the stabilization is not quite as good as a full 360 stabilization. You don't get some of the benefits of a 360 camera, such as the invisible flying camera effect. You'll also have a limited ability to do keyframing, or possibly none at all. Now, one thing that's not clear is that if the GoPro MAX is using this single lens mode, is it actually still recording two videos at the same time from both lenses so that later on you can switch to 360? I hope we can see that, but I'm not sure. They haven't said anything like that. So if you want to find out more about the Insta360 Go, check out this video. The battery life. The GoPro MAX has a smaller battery than the GoPro Fusion. I'm pretty sure that the GoPro MAX has a shorter battery life. Second is image quality. That's a big question mark, and I have a feeling that the GoPro MAX might not be better than the GoPro Fusion. Here's why. Well, first of all, the GoPro Fusion had two micro SD cards, whereas the GoPro MAX has only one micro SD card. And even though that means the one micro SD card is more convenient, it also means that there's like a bottleneck in terms of your recording bit rate. And in fact, the GoPro Fusion can record at 120 Mbps, whereas the GoPro MAX is limited to 78 Mbps. Let's compare the GoPro MAX with the Hero 7 Black. Both of them have the same bit rate of 78 Mbps, and they both can use H.265. Now, the Hero 7's resolution at 78 Mbps is 4K, whereas with the Max it's 1440p. Now, when they say 1440p, all it means is that this is in non-360 mode. And so the reason it's 1440 instead of 4K while still being 78 Mbps is because it's probably using the entire sensor, the entire 4K sensor, but it's cropping it to 1440 to provide a non-360 view. The image quality of the Max at 1440 would be similar to the 4K of the Hero 7 cropped to 1440. So does that mean that the Max can shoot at 78 Mbps times 2 when it's shooting with two lenses? Not necessarily, because there's still only one processor and there's still only one SD card. It is doubtful that the same processor as the Hero 7 can record effectively two streams of 78 Mbps at the same time. So where does that leave us with the 360 quality? We don't know. GoPro doesn't say the bit rate. All we know is it's using H.265 with one micro SD card. So depending on the actual bit rate, it could be the same or a little bit better or worse than the Fusion. Another issue with the GoPro MAX is the photo quality. That's because it doesn't have RAW support according to the most recent specs on GoPro's website. So now let's go back to the question we asked at the beginning. Is it worth waiting for the GoPro MAX? So first, if you're looking for a 360 camera for photos, then the answer is probably not. The GoPro MAX has a resolution that's not higher than the GoPro Fusion and doesn't have RAW capability, at least not at launch. So it's unlikely that it will have better photo quality than the Fusion or other 360 cameras like the Theta Z1 or the X-Phase. Second, if your priority is highest video quality, then I don't think the GoPro MAX will do it for you. I don't think that it will have a better video quality than the GoPro Fusion. But we'll have to wait and see. But so far, based on the bit rate, based on the fact that it's limited to one micro SD card, makes me think that it has less video quality than the Fusion. And compared to the Insta360 One X, it doesn't seem to have than HDR video mode. And so the Insta360 One X will likely have much better dynamic range. So who is the GoPro Max for? Well, it's primarily for people who want convenience. If you're looking for a 360 camera that's easy to use as a regular action cam, then I think the GoPro Max may be able to provide that for you. For one thing, it has real-time stitching with stabilization. That's a feature that no other consumer 360 camera has as of now. I mean, the only cameras that have it are Insta360 Pro, Insta360 Pro 2, and Pilot Era. And all those three professional 360 cameras cost like $2,500 or more. So if you want real-time stitching with stabilization, the GoPro Max is the most economical way to get it. Now, I also ordered it, so whenever I get it, I'll definitely post a review and comparison with the GoPro Fusion as well as the Insta360 One X. In the meantime, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in 360.